Hello everyone, my name is Iman Sassawi and today I am honored to present my research titled Modeling Resilience in Emergency Supply Chain, a Systematic Literature Review, which is a study co-authored with Professor Jamil Al-Alami and Professor Mustafa Halil. So here's the roadmap we will be following through this presentation. We will first start with an introduction and some related work, and then the methodology we have followed. We will then discuss the results and finding and conclude with a conclusion that will also include some future research directions. So let's first begin with the context. Over the last decade, we have seen a dramatic increase in disasters, both natural, like earthquake, floods, and human-made, like political conflict and pandemics. And we have the COVID-19 pandemic alone that showed us how fragile supply chains or supply systems can be when demand spikes unexpectedly. So emergency supply chain are designed to save life by ensuring critical goods like food, medicine, and shelter to ensure that they reach the affected populations. However, these supply chains often operate under immense uncertainty. Infrastructure damage, political barrier, and shifting need all complicate their functioning. So while there has been a surge in modeling work around logistics, what we have noticed during our study is that resilience, which is the aspect of a supply chain's ability to absorb shocks, adapt, and recover, remains underexplored in a structured way. And that's where our study comes in. We wanted to systematically review the literature to understand how resilience is being modeled, what strategies have been proposed, and where the most important gaps are. So this led us to conduct a systematic literature review of 38 peer-reviewed articles that focused specifically on mathematical modeling for emergency supply chain resilience, and we focused on three central research questions, which are: first, which resilience aspects are most used for modeling a resilient emergency supply chain? What are the roles of modeling techniques and emergency supply chains across disaster phases, and how are resilience strategies addressed in emergency supply chain modeling? So our study goal is to provide a state-of-the-art review of modeling methodologies for resilient emergency supply chains by integrating resilience strategies. We can see here the literature review scope, which we covered the resilience strategies, the modeling approaches used in an emergency logistic context. So here's the methodology we have followed. This is the paper review protocol. It's a systematic literature review protocol. We started by the identification of articles that we will be working on, then the screening, which assessed for eligibility, and of course we have some excluded criteria like papers that are duplicated, papers that's primarily centered on modeling commercial supply chain disruptions, because here we are working on emergency supply chain and it's very important to make the difference. Then we have as an inclusion criteria papers that are discussing disasters outside of the context of emergency logistics, for example, in the medicine field. This is not included in our research scope. And finally, papers that are not written in English. So this makes us include reports of studies of a number of 38 peer-reviewed studies. And also here we can see an overview of the applied methodology. So the database utilized are Scopus and Science Direct. And then this is the key string search that we have followed either in Scopus or Science Direct. And as a total of documents, we have found on Scopus 170 and on Science Direct 81. So a total of 251. With the excluded criteria, we are with a number of 38 articles. And this slide shows us the descriptive analytics, so we can see the distribution of papers in the last decade that are in evolution. And we have also made a linear regression prediction, and we can clearly see that the number of papers will follow to evolve in the next 5 years. Then we have used VOS Viewer in order to identify the most relevant used keywords in the identified papers. And here we can see clearly the emergency responses, emergency logistics, modeling, mixed integer programming, disasters, and that are part of the study scope are emerging as the most relevant keywords. Then here we can find a categorization of the papers we have found. So we have found 71% of articles, then 24% of conference papers, and 5% for book chapters. And finally, we have the disruption of papers per journals. So the Journal of Logistics is in the first place, followed by journals that discuss not only logistics but also humanitarian logistics and focus also on mathematical modeling. So in this slide, we will be discussing the results and discussions for the three aspects of the study scope. So first, we will start with the modeling. We have uncertainty is central. We found that stochastic programming dominates with 34% of models that enable scenario-based planning. Then we have found that resilient matrix are limited. Very few models quantify resilience beyond cost time. We have identified some gaps like minimal integration of resilient matrix into optimization models and simplistic assumption, fixed demand, linear recovery. And for future need, we have identified context-aware and data-driven models with more holistic resilience indicators. As for the aspects of emergency logistic operation, the focus area is facility location, relief distribution, and mass evacuation. And for the gaps, we have found scalability challenges in dynamic and incomplete data environments. Mass evacuation is underrepresented due to the complexity and behavior factor, and the recovery phase, which is neglected despite its very important role in post-disaster stability. As for the aspects of resilience strategies, we have found that the key approaches done to model the resilience is scenario-based modeling, optimization, dynamic system, and agent-based or game theoric models. So this highlights strategies, for example, backup suppliers, pre-positioned stock, diversified sourcing, dual sourcing, etc. As emergency link, there is a strong correlation between sustainability and resilience. And as a gap, we have identified that there is a limited comprehensive mathematical representation of resilience strategies. For future need, we need to explore more sustainable and resilient synergy for robust adaptive emergency supply chain. So here is a recapitulative of the results and discussion. So as model type, we have found stochastic in the first place, robust programming in the second, probabilistic fuzzy modeling in the third place, heuristic and simulation in the fourth place, and finally, the deterministic models are less used. And in order to conclude, the gap identified is resilience that is often indirectly addressed with limited quantitative matrix. Models emphasize cost minimization over performance, and the disruption and mass evacuation and recovery phase modeling remain underexplored. These are current limitations and future directions. For example, integrate quantitative resilience matrix, hybrid modeling approaches, expand focus on recovery phase, procurement-centered strategies, and also add a sustainability aspect or level in resilience. So thank you very much for assisting this presentation. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. This is my email. And again, thank you.